As a mangaka at Type Moon Chapter 221 to 230, 221, getting serious. It's truly beautiful. Under the night sky, Dio looked at the distant battlefield bathed in radiance and said, "The power displayed is truly beautiful." Lewis, don't you think so too? Well, what should we do? Dio's master, Louis Schmidt, sighed and asked, "Do you possess such power?" "No, it's useless." Dio straightforwardly admitted this fact, then smiled, "But I say, now, I indeed don't possess such power right now, but it's only for now, Louis, there are still 3 days. 3 days until that time comes, and then I will put an end to this war directly." 3 days. Louis Schmidt still didn't understand. This man had been incessantly talking about some event. What would happen in 3 days? However, Dio, you said you and that Ozymandias aren't the same person, right? Oh, what do you mean? You see, your voices sound completely identical. And both are in Egypt, both are writers. Louis Schmidt said, looking at Dio's expression to see if there was any change. No, there's no connection, Dio said, furrowing his brows slightly. Hey, master covered in blood, Mordred walked over, having put away her armor. All covered in blood. How did it go? The master wearing black clothes and black sunglasses, a necromancer, asked. I ran away. Mordred said, smiling. That guy is simply a monster. I can't think of a way to kill him, so I ran away. A monster? Kiritsugu looked puzzled. How so? Explain it to me. Simply put, I cut off his head 3 times, pierced his heart twice, used my noble phantasm to evaporate his entire body once. And he still lived. Truly, Mordred said, touching her own head. Earlier, a bullet had pierced through her helmet, leaving a bloodstain on her forehead. So, she fled. There was no hope of winning if the battle continued. On the other hand, even though she only occasionally had the opportunity to harm the servant she was fighting against, there was no way to find a method to kill him at all. It was clear that he had some way of resurrecting, and this had become quite apparent. Can't die? Kiritsugu was a bit puzzled. Wouldn't destroying his spiritual core be enough? That's what it seems like. Mordred sighed. But that guy just stood there motionless, and when I attacked, I didn't know where his spiritual core was. He took my noble phantasm head on, seemed to die, and then, in less than a moment, he revived. I don't know what to do. It's the first time I've seen such a monster. Could it be something like Heracles' 12 labors? Do you need to kill him 12 times? Kiritsugu speculated. I don't know. Anyway, I ran away. Mordred wiped the blood from her forehead, the only blood that was hers. The rest was all from the servant she was fighting against. If he's not someone who needs to be killed multiple times, he feels a bit off, Mordred added. I see. Kiritsugu thought for a moment. Anyway, leave this matter to that Kusin. Roar, I see, so this is your berserker, Mavis. Bartholomew Lorelei looked at the summoned berserker by Mavis and nodded. He looks like an ancient general. What's his name? Lu Bu. That's his name. Bartholomew Lorelei barely raised an eyebrow. Oh. Fortunately, it's a berserker. Let him go and probe the other side of the dead apostle. Now that we can confirm on the church side that Gilgamesh has been summoned, there should be 1 or 2 servants on the dead apostle side as well, right? Let berserker go and probe, with Archer providing support. I understand. Mavis nodded, then said to berserker, did you hear that? Go and probe the servants on the dead apostle's side. If possible, kill them. It doesn't matter even if you kill them. Roar. I'll kill those guys who dared to come near, berserker roared and rushed out. Well, I'll be responsible for support, right? Archer smiled as he walked out. Yes, dead apostles are all proud beings. If you can kill so many dead apostles, and even gather some high-ranking dead apostles together. Among those dead apostles, there must be some existence beyond the ordinary ones. Find them. Kill them. That is your mission. Oh, I understand. Archer nodded and then turned into a spiritual form. Well then, I'll go now. Then, let's go and see Ryder next. Bartholomew Lorelei slightly relaxed and said. Saber has arrived, and it's said that she encountered an undying monster. Then, assassin and caster. Have Saber wait temporarily for further orders. As for assassin and caster, well, just handle them as you see fit. Bartholomew Lorelei waved her hand. Call that Laird and his servant and come with me to see Ryder. She didn't care about assassin and caster. Because Not only were those two servants ones she couldn't defeat, but also because those two masters were not from her faction. All the other masters were under her command, or were masters related to her. But those two were different. One was a democratic faction's master, and the other was a neutral faction's master. Since they didn't obey her orders, there was no need to use them. Anyway, the current configuration was already sufficient. Saber, Mordred, Lancer Enkidu, and Archer, or Ash. These three knights were top-notch. Then there was the Pharaoh Rider, equal in strength to the King of Heroes, Ozymandias. And General from Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Li Bu. Now, they had drawn the best cards. How does it feel, Gilgamesh? Kire Kotomine looked at Gilgamesh, the servant he summoned, and said, he was Gilgamesh's master and the one in charge, while the others were mainly responsible for the fight. Not that there was much else to do. Haven't you figured it out? Gilgamesh smiled and said, this king's mood is quite good indeed. Reunion with an old friend, or is it that rider? Both. Gilgamesh sat down in his seat, looking seemingly in a good mood, and said, I truly didn't expect to meet Enkidu in this era and then. That Sun King is quite impressive. He has the qualification to make this king draw out EA. So, can you win? Kire, you're getting more and more impudent. Will I lose? Normally, that's indeed possible. But now it's different. Now this king has truly gotten screous. 222. The end of the first night. Getting serious, huh? Kire Kotomine remained silent for 2 seconds and said, there's one more thing I haven't told you. While you and Lancer, as well as Rider, were fighting, our side summoned the second heroic spirit. Oh, and who is it? A servant, Saber. True name is Siegfried. With these words, next to him, the dragon slayer knight named Siegfried walked out. In the next moment, he drew his sword and charged towards the numerous noble phantasms shot at him. Boom, boom, boom. What's going on? Next to him. Executor hurriedly approached and saw the aura behind Gilgamesh gradually disappearing. Siegfried, holding his sword, had cleared the area around him as if shells had plowed through. You, qualified mongrel, be grateful. You have the honor of fighting alongside this king. What do you mean? Siegfried sheathed his sword. Didn't this king mention it before? Gilgamesh closed his treasury and said, in this Holy Grail war, this king is ready to get serious. With Enkidu on the other side, this king can't afford to be careless. And that Sun King isn't bad either. Gilgamesh smiled and said, with this king's grace, if you want to become this king's subordinate, you naturally need to be tested. Rest assured, the previous test was just the bare minimum. However, even so, you've proven yourself enough to boast for 100 years. You have passed this king's test? Ha ha ha. Ha ha. Isn't this my master? Ozymandias laughed and said, how is it? Have you witnessed the brilliance of my radiance? It shines even brighter than the sun. It feels okay. Bartholomew Lorelei looked at the pyramid with some surprise. Even as the Lord of the Clock Tower, she had never seen such a structure. Ha ha. Ozymandias pierced through Bartholomew Lorelei's surprise in an instant and laughed. After all, this was his palace, his pyramid, and one of its values was to amaze people. Enough of that. Did you clash with the enemy archer, Gilgamesh? Bartholomew Lorelei asked. How does it feel, and what are the chances of winning? Well, that Golden King is indeed formidable, with about 80% of his true strength. He's indeed tricky. Ozymandias nodded. But who do you think I am? I am the Pharaoh, the invincible God King. How could I be defeated? Even that Golden King, if this king gets serious, can be taken down. Bartholomew Lorelei raised an eyebrow slightly. Did he think she was blind? At that time, it was clear that only with his and Enkidu's combined noble phantasms did they barely catch up to the noble phantasm of that King of Heroes EA. However, the last time, it shouldn't have been your strongest noble phantasm, right? No, it was. I've always been concealing it, Ozymandias said. My strongest noble phantasm is beneath your feet, above your head. That's right. My strongest noble phantasm is this pyramid. I mean the one you used when your noble phantasm clashed with that archer. Oh, that one. No, that one is still enough to kill a top-tier servant. That Golden King indeed has some skills. Bartholomew Lorelei felt a slight sigh in her heart. These ancient kings were indeed too arrogant. The other meaning of his words just now was also quite obvious. He claimed his noble phantasm could kill a top-tier servant, and Gilgamesh's noble phantasm could defeat that noble phantasm, and then he could take down Gilgamesh. Wasn't he boasting about being stronger than the other? Suddenly, Ozymandias looked up. An intruder? No. Wait, is it a ruler? Let her in? He wasn't talking to a person but to the guardians of this temple, the Sphinx. Make way for me, I've come. No, can you please step aside? I've come to visit the servants and masters here. The saint, who descended as a ruler this time, Martha, tried to maintain a gentle expression as much as possible. In response, she was met with the claw of the divine beast. Martha held her staff in front of her, taking 2 steps back. Fine. It seems you have no intention of making way. Then let me knock you out. As she spoke, she directly threw her staff away, revealing 2 gauntlets in her hands. Just as she was about to say something, the Sphinx in front suddenly walked to the side, clearing a path on both sides for her to move forward. How did gauntlets appear in my hands? I don't understand. Martha sighed slightly, picked up her staff from the side, and squinted at the Sphinx in front of her. Well, it has no intelligence, no intelligence. While saying this, the saint walked inside. The gloves slowly disappeared from her hands, as if they had never appeared in the first place. Servant, assassin, named Jing K. Whom are you here to kill this time? Assassin frowned as she looked at the chaotic room filled with demons dancing around. Then, she shifted her gaze to the person sitting at the desk, reading a book. From that person, she sensed a nauseatingly evil aura. Oh, the renowned assassin turns out to be a woman, but it doesn't matter. How intriguing. Dio placed down his book and looked at the assassin before him. It seems the summoning this time was successful. I see. So, you specifically summoned me to kill someone. Who is the target? Jing K, the assassin who failed to assassinate Qin Shi Huang in history, asked. There are 2 targets. One is the Pharaoh of Egypt, and the other is the King of Heroes, Gilgamesh. Can you handle it? Of course. The assassin determined to succeed this time replied. This time, I will definitely succeed. That's good. Dio nodded in satisfaction. If you need anything, just let me know. You can choose anything in this room. Roar. Just as Jane K was about to respond, a roar echoed from outside. Quite noisy, Giles de Rais, don't worry, Castor, with fish-like eyes, spoke from the side. Those kids have stopped him. That's good. Go then. Dio Brando smiled and said, go test the defense of that servant. As long as the power of the world could break through the defense of the incoming servant, the outcome was already predetermined. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. 223, time stopped done, accompanied by footsteps. The saint, Martha, restored her composure and silently remembered the words she would say after meeting the writer. Soon, passing through the corridor, she saw 3 figures. Lancer, Enkidu, writer, Ozymandias, and writer's master, Bartholomew Lorelei. With her authority as ruler, she quickly understood everything. Oh, so you're the ruler of this Holy Grail war? Ozymandias spoke with interest. Indeed, Martha nodded. I am the overseer, ruler, of this Holy Grail war. I'm here to confirm something with you. What are your purposes for participating in this Holy Grail war? HMPH, do I need to say it? I joined this Holy Grail war to obtain eternal life. Eternal life? Bartholomew Lorelei turned around. The first battle of the Holy Grail war had started too abruptly for her to even question the purpose of the heroic spirit she had summoned. Exactly, I, supreme and perfect, unique and flawless, must exist eternally. However, I have one weakness, limited lifespan. Hence, I demand eternal life from the so-called Holy Grail. I am the true ruler of this world, and it must acknowledge my dominion, standing atop the world. Ozymandias stood up, emitting a radiant glow. I see. Martha nodded. So, you wish to obtain eternal life to rule the world again, correct? Exactly, I want this world, not for anything else, but because this world is destined to accept my rule. All this is destined because I am the King of Kings. Ozymandias, ha ha, ha ha ha. Understood. And what is Lancer's wish? Me? Enkidu smiled. My wish has already been granted. I have no specific wish, but I'll do my best to protect the safety of my master. After all, it's the person who summoned me. Now, Miss Bartholomew Lorelei, what is your wish? My wish? It's simple. It's also the purpose of the Holy Grail after this war. That is to continue the ley lines. This is unchangeable by anyone. Oh, so you want me to abandon my wish? Ozymandias, with a cold gaze, said. Correct. That's it. Bartholomei Lorelei proudly raised her head and looked at the king on the throne. The Holy Grail this time must be used to continue the ley lines. If there's any excess magical energy, give it to your body, if not, you'll have to wait until next time. Ha ha ha, not bad. It's good that you dare to speak to me like this. Ozymandias approves of you. Very well, I spare you. So, Saint, now that you know the answers, what are you planning to do? Ozymandias looked at her with obvious satisfaction. No, I won't do anything. Martha said, I am only here to witness. Whatever you want to do with the Holy Grail, I won't interfere. After all, I am ruler. I see. Ozymandias squinted slightly without saying anything. Well then, this is about it. Next, I will visit other masters and servants. Saying this, Martha took a deep breath, turned around, and clenched her fists. Successful. This time, nothing went wrong. The next moment, she froze. Ozymandias, Enkidu. Bartholomei Lorelei. Ah, you didn't see anything, the saint ran out in a flash. Quite amusing. Ha ha ha. Roar, these annoying things. I won't fight anymore. Berserker roared, swinging his halberd. He cleared the sea monsters around him, ignoring their reappearance. The halberd in his hand began to transform. Yes, it transformed into a bow and arrow. Halberd comparable to heaven. This wasn't a noble phantasm. It was just his skill. Even as a berserker, he retained his skills. Boom, the arrows shot out like cannonballs, directly blowing open the roof in front of him. He picked up the returning his halberd and roared, charging forward. This doesn't look good. Arash, holding a bow and arrow from a distance, looked at this side with a bitter smile. If he goes in, we won't be able to support him. Although he had been watching without attacking so far. Because there was no need. That berserker was just too fierce. Although sea monsters kept emerging around him, none of them stood a chance against his halberd. Caster. Giles de Rais, right? Arash had been maintaining contact with his master all along, thus he was aware of the identity of the summoner behind these sea demons. Be careful. It's likely Giles de Rais. After all, that book of his was given to him by someone else. Ah, I know, what should we do now? Master, should I charge in? Find a place where you can see Berserker and provide support. At least, you should know where that servant is. Hiss swish boom. Before Arash could act, Berserker jumped out. 4 dead apostles appeared around him. All high-level dead apostles, forces comparable to servants, and now 4 of them. Roar. Let me test your strength. Berserker roared and thrust his halberd into the ground, facing the few people with his bare hands. That guy really has no intelligence. Arash looked at this scene, eyes widened. He probably doesn't, but that's Lu Bu after all. Withstanding madness and possessing the most basic will isn't an impossible thing. However, it should be limited to this. Boom, the next moment. The 4 dead apostles and Berserker engaged in battle. Even with bare hands against 4 dead apostles of servant level and their familiars, he displayed various techniques without falling behind. Just at this moment, time stopped. The world, time has stopped. To be continued. 224, evil plan time. It treated everyone equally, flowing steadily. It wouldn't change due to anyone's personal desires. It should have been like that. However, in this world, there appeared an existence that could stop time altogether. 1 second has passed. Dio emerged from the shattered room. 6 seconds. This was the amount of time he could now stop. Perhaps it might not seem like much to an ordinary person, but for Dio in his current state, it was more than enough to accomplish a lot. Running 100 meters or anything else was a piece of cake. Initially, when he arrived in this world, he could only stop time for 5 seconds. But now, after consuming an unknown number of people's fresh blood and fully mastering this body, he could now stop time for 6 seconds. If not for the difference between his stand ability and the truck servant of this world, he would probably be able to stop time for around 12 seconds by now. However, even so, it was more than enough. 6 seconds were more than sufficient. 2 seconds have passed. Dio looked at Berserker, who had stopped his movements like the other dead apostles, about 10 meters away from where he emerged from the room. Berserker had reached him, clenching his fists. 3 seconds have passed. Die. Dio laughed heartily, having stored energy for 3 seconds, and unleashed a powerful punch towards Berserker's chest. His physical strength in this world was at rank A, capable of blocking this strike with ease. If Berserker had self-awareness and was able to move, he would undoubtedly be able to defend. After all, Berserker's physical strength and endurance were at rank A+. Squelch, 4 seconds have passed. Watching Berserker getting impaled by his fist, Dio felt content and withdrew his fist. Now, the first contestant in the Holy Grail War to be eliminated has appeared. Countdown 1 second, Dio ran towards the shattered house. Will hid in the shadows to avoid being seen by others, then said, 0 seconds, time begins to flow. Squelch, roar, Lu Bu roared, swung his hand, and his halberd that was on the ground flew into his hands. He swung it mercilessly, a full swing around him. 4 high-level dead apostles and their familiars were all cut in half. Oh, still alive. Dio felt somewhat lucky that he immediately retreated. Otherwise, he didn't want to face the consequences of his actions until he reached heaven before reaching his destination. Only when he ascended to heaven would it be a true battle. Before that, it was just a warm-up. However, before that, he had to give others some intimidation, so they wouldn't dare to approach. This Berserker's death was the perfect sacrifice. Next moment the severed dead apostles stood up again, their injuries fully healed. Perhaps their actual combat ability was only at the level of second or third-rate servants, but against Berserker, who was undoubtedly top-notch, it was nothing. But in terms of immortality, how many could compare to these dead apostles? Perhaps only Dio and that undying king had such capabilities. But even though Lu Bu was pierced through, he didn't show any signs of fatigue. He continued to swing his halberd wildly. Just as Dio was preparing to stop time again, smashing Lu Bu's head. From a distance several arrow-like arrows shot over. Boom, boom, boom. Arash continuously pulled his bow and shot arrows. At the same time, he shouted loudly, "Berserker, my friend, retreat. Roar, wait for me, I'll cut you down next time." Berserker roared, and fled. Archer sighed with relief when he saw this scene. "Archer, did you see it? How did Berserker get injured?" "No, I didn't see it." Archer Arash shook his head. Could it be some special ability of those dead apostles? "I don't know. Let's show Lady Bartholomew when Berserker returns." On the other side, Dio, watching the fleeing Berserker, smiled slightly. Beautiful. He truly deserves to be a servant. Even with his chest pierced, he won't die. But this is enough. My goal from the beginning was not to kill him. Let them withdraw, and for the next 3 days, they won't disturb us, it's enough. Because of this, he didn't let those 4 high-level dead apostles use their full strength. You see, among them, some had mystic codes in their hands, some had reality marble, some had high-level mystic eyes, and some had near absolute immortality. All of these were not used in this battle, because it was unnecessary. There were still 3 days left. When he started executing his plan, when all the conditions were met, when he started moving, he would inevitably face tremendous obstacles. That would be the true time to use his full strength. That would be the true time to give it his all. He would undoubtedly ascend to heaven, obtaining eternal peace. Even in this world, anyone who stood in front of his fate would be crushed. "Farewell, come back." From the shadows, Dio said to prevent being exposed now. It wasn't the time for him to reveal himself. You have completed your mission satisfactorily. Now, all you have to do is wait patiently. It won't be long. I've already waited through this year, and there are only 3 days left. Yes, Lord Dio, him. Ha ha ha, interesting, isn't it, the battle? Oh, certainly, master. Alucard turned to look at his master, Kurokawa Kazuya. Very interesting indeed. Truly fascinating. That saber seems not to be the strongest in this Holy Grail war, right? But even so, there's such immense power, fantastic. Humans are truly amazing. If you find it interesting, then it is. Kazuya shrugged. I find it interesting too. But this is just the first day of the Holy Grail war. No, it can't even be considered the first day, and such a battle has already occurred. However, what I'm really interested in is, how will this city fare? Which direction will Cairo take? Perhaps it will be like that nightmarish night in London. 225. Berserker. Hell, huh? Yes, hell. Alucard looked at the distant pedestrians. Cairo, once lively, was gradually becoming deserted. Even before the Holy Grail War began, the clashes between the three factions had slowly emptied this city. No one was naive. No one was unaware. Now, this city had become a battlefield. No, the entire country was a battlefield. The reason was that this country lacked the ability to resist the intrusion of the three factions. And the one most furious about this situation was not Kurokawa Kazuya. It was the king of this land, the pharaoh Ozymandias. He was the king of this land, the ruler, the administrator, and, of course, the protector. Faced with such a situation, how could he not be angry? Of course, these was just speculations by Kazuya. He hadn't personally met Ozymandias and had no idea what he thought about this situation. Try to avoid damaging the city as much as possible, Kazuya said, looking down below. At the same time, someone below raised her head and looked in their direction. Who is that? That's the arbiter, ruler, right? Alucard looked at the saint below, then turned to Kazuya, bowing. What do you think? Should we let her in, or should we kill her? Give the order, my master. Saying that, he slowly raised the corners of his mouth, revealing an exaggerated smile. Let's see what she has to say. Kazuya sat down on the side. The saint below had disappeared, entering the building. Kazuya was curious about how that saint found this place. From the appearance of the saint, Kazuya had a rough idea of who she was. Saint Martha. The one who subdued the dragon with compassion, physical. After a while, the saint came to their room and knocked on the door. Please come in, Kazuya said. If he had said something before, he might have bought the entire floor or even the entire building. After all, he wasn't short of money. But now, he was short on cash, so he had to be more frugal, so, he only bought this one room. Moreover, with the frequent incidents in Egypt recently, the property prices here had plummeted. After all, it had been a year, and there was still no solution. Cairo was still chaotic, and many people were dying. Of course, the drop in property prices saved him quite a bit of money. So, I'm coming in saying that. The saint opened the unlocked door and walked in. You guys. Black's Lancer and his master. I am ruler Martha, participating in this Holy Grail war. The saint spoke gently. Martha, huh? Well, the famous saint, what brings you here? I just came to confirm your wishes as the master and your Lancer's wishes, that's all. Martha looked kindly at the two and said. Simple, as a master, I don't have much to say about my wishes. I just want to witness this Holy Grail war with my own eyes. I see. And what about this Lancer? My wish? Alucard smiled. My wish is nothing special to talk about. Say it quickly. What's with all the beating around the bush? No, that, tell me, and hope you can tell me. After all, as ruler, it's my duty. Haha. What's the use of knowing? Can you help me fulfill it, for example? End my miserable life? Alucard said, placing his hand over his heart. Are you going to fight or not? Why talk so much? Master. Your command. Kazuya looked at the one who had already withdrawn his fist and was standing there indifferently, saying to the saint, let's do it. Just consider it a friendly match. Also, try not to involve unrelated parties too much. Understood. What? You dare to fight me, ruler? Meet me outside the city, Martha said eagerly, her face full of expectation. After saying that, her expression stiffened, and she turned and ran outside the door. After a while, she peeked out sneakily, blushing. I'm waiting for you outside, Lancer. Haha, Kazuya laughed. This person, I wonder what she thinks she's doing. Indeed, Alucard also laughed, an interesting person, executing her duties as ruler on one hand and concealing her true identity on the other. But is she not fully concealed? An interesting person. So, master. Do it, test the saint, got it, at night, it got longer. Like now a person arrived next to a pyramid located in the desert. Looking at the blocking sphinx, the newcomer raised his right hand, and there were 3 blood-red marks on his right hand command spells. I am the master of Black Berserker, here to see the master from the Mages Association, please report. No response. Instead, the sphinx extended its claws towards the newcomer. However, it was blocked. The knight's sword in his hand blocked the sphinx's claws, sending it back. Please report, roar. The sphinx roared and rushed up. No choice. Kill it and charge in Berserker. Roar, like a dragon, the Berserker roared, and the knight's sword swung, cutting the godly beast blocking the way in half. But, The Sphinx did not decrease, instead, it increased. Killing one would bring another. No, even if they died, they would resurrect. So many divine beasts. Even a berserker would find it tricky to deal with one, let alone 2 or 3. Especially now. So many. Matu Karya held his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Is this poison? Just then, the divine beasts blocking the way slowly disappeared, and Matu Karya felt his body lighten. A voice came. Haha, not bad. You actually managed to withstand the trial of my divine beasts. You have passed. As a reward, I will grant you an audience with my divine brilliance. Come before the throne of my godly king. Huff. Matu Karya took a deep breath, stepped back, berserker. The next moment, he walked into the interior. He participated in the Holy Grail War not for the Holy Grail, but for another wish. 226, Saint. Ah, that lancer really hurts so much, in a room. Ruler wrapped bandages around herself, wincing in pain. She still had the ability to heal herself, and she could heal anything. This was given to her by someone who wanted to reshape her personality into that of a gentle lady. The staff, too. For healing. You can't just go into battle with your fists, right? Healing is enough for a saint. That person often said so. Even though that was the case, healing was still something she was not good at, and she preferred swinging her fists. The feeling of punching flesh was truly romantic for a woman. No, I am a saint, I am a saint, I am a saint. After a moment of self-hypnosis, she became slightly more like a saint. As a ruler, she had no wishes. More precisely, she did not desire the Holy Grail. According to Martha, she had no desire for the so-called Holy Grail. In her eyes, the Holy Grail was just a container for the blood of the master, not some third-rate magical product. But that lancer is really strong, ruler sighed. He didn't use any noble phantasms or anything, just ordinary attacks, but coupled with that unkillable nature of his, it was really troublesome. If it came to a point where he wouldn't die, even with ruler's authority, she doubted it would be of any use. However, even if he was told to commit suicide, even Alucard himself didn't know how he would commit suicide. No, it's not that he didn't know at all. If he wanted to commit suicide, there were 2 ways. 1. Killing himself hundreds of thousands of times. 2. Releasing the river of death, then digging out his own heart and crushing it. Well, first, let's get a better understanding of the Holy Grail War. After that, let's find other masters and servants when it gets dark. Watching the sky gradually turn a fish belly white, Martha shifted her gaze to the other side. There were all the Fate manga, all the Jojo manga, all the Hellsing manga, and the anime discs for Jojo parts 1 through 3. In fact, the production of Jojo Part 3 had just been completed about a month ago, but the discs were already out. Because, to let these heroic spirits see a complete Jojo anime, Kazuya had directly purchased the broadcasting rights for Tokyo TV, Nippon TV, and others for 3 days. All 48 episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure were broadcast in 3 days. After that, the BD was released immediately. Although it was said that there were no BDs in this era, it was still a 3 to 4 tier downgrade to a lower tier CD. And priority opening in the Egyptian battlefield. Although it was chaotic in this area, so the sales were not great. But it was a preemptive sale before the Holy Grail War started. After that, when Martha came back, she bought these from the trembling owner in the 24-hour specialty store. Sorry, I'll pay you back before the Holy Grail War ends. Lord, forgive me. Now, let's take a look at that fate first. Although she said that, it was. Looking at those muscular men in JoJo, she couldn't help but swallow her saliva. Lord, forgive me. She started watching JoJo's anime. Time slowly passed during this process. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. The sky gradually darkened without them realizing it. Martha had been sitting in front of the TV for more than 15 hours. With the roaring sound outside, Martha lifted her head, looked out the window, and said, "What? It's starting again. It's annoying, wait for me, I'll finish watching it. And whoever dares to cause trouble will get a good aura from me." That's right, aura is the real romance. Just right, she was not in a good mood now. After all, she just saw the protagonist of JoJo being brutally tortured by that stand user called Lover. Aura. At this moment, the voice came from the TV without interruption, attracting her over. No matter how the Holy Grail War is going, let's finish watching JoJo first. So handsome, for 30 seconds, without interruption of aura, the Iron Fist Saint's eyes emitted a dazzling light. That's it. Well, Martha temporarily turned off the TV, picked up the staff beside her, and thought for a moment before throwing it away. The romantic thing for a woman is aura. No need for a staff. So this saint who came to hide her personality with a staff was now completely forgotten about it, and now she just wanted to find a servant for a joyful aura. Pushing time forward a bit, just as night fell, an assassin approached the direction of the Holy Church Cathedral. Looking from a distance, Lehrman watched as assassin disappeared, and he took a deep breath. Go. Since it's assassin, kill as many as you can, whether it's the people of the Holy Church or servants. The more killed, the better. This time, the organizer of the Holy Grail War was the prestigious Bartholomew faction, and the Holy Grail was also brought by them. They had no objections, including the purpose of the Holy Grail this time. Now, they already had 8 servants, and there was no reason to lose. That's right. 8. Originally, a master belonging to the Black faction joined them and was willing to offer his own curse, serving as a price, just hoping that Bartholomew Lorelei could take the lead in transplanting the magic crest on him to someone else. This person was none other than Madhukarya, the magic crest that had been passed down for hundreds of years. Although no one knew how many generations it had been since Madhu Zokin died, one thing was certain. That thing was undoubtedly a high-level magic crest. For magus who wanted this thing, it was estimated that it could fill the entire London, although it was a bit exaggerated. After all the magus in the world added together would probably not fill it. If it were auctioned, even if there was a rejection of danger, it would definitely fetch a sky-high price. Especially for those nouveau riche magus. Even if it meant bankrupting their families, it was worth it. Because once they got it, it meant they were no longer nouveau riche, but had the foundation of a magical aristocracy. This point was still important. Just look at Bartholomew Lorelei's attitude toward magus. She killed them after passing down for 13 generations, and she killed them directly after 7 generations. You know, in the clock tower, passing down 5 generations has already made you a noble, and passing down 7 generations has already been bragged about. However, this was not enough for Bartholomew Lorelei. So, after the victory was already certain, what was needed next was achievements. It didn't matter if that servant died, as long as they could kill those people from the Holy Church and more. The more killed, the better. 227. Assassination. And, just as the assassin from the Mages Association was infiltrating the Holy Church Cathedral, another assassin was also infiltrating towards the pyramid outside the city. No doubt, this was Dio's assassin on this side, Jinke. Without worrying about anything else, just go for the kill. Sending those kings into the grave is her victory, and it's also Dio's victory. Dio's thought was simple: just 2 more days, endure these 2 days, and it's done. At that time, he would ascend to heaven. Obtain the power enough to give him peace of mind. In other words, according to Dio, as long as he ascends to heaven and advances his stand further, even Gilgamesh and Ozymandias would not be fearsome. Gilles de Rais. Dio played with Ryder's chess piece in his hand. Yes, Lord Dio, is there something you need? Gilles de Rais squinted and smiled. How are your preparations? Almost ready. Can start anytime. Gilles de Rais smiled, caressing the reliant text in his hand. Then, it's done. Dio smiled satisfactorily. Tonight. Rely on the commotion caused by that assassin's assassination to get through. After tomorrow, if there's still no action on the 3rd day, the members of the Mages Association will also attack proactively. This is not good. The current Dio is well aware that he doesn't have the direct means to defeat those 2 with divine abilities. So, he must attract their attention. And what else is more attention-grabbing than the sea demon that can destroy the city? And, at that time, they would feed a large amount of food to the sea demon that appears, making it grow quickly. If this ska demon spreads to the entire city, it won't have much impact on Dio. If those who caused the disturbance are taken care of, will the disturbances from the day's battle also quiet down? Then it will be time for him to act by the 3rd day. He will ascend to heaven, get everything, and for him, 2 days later is the decisive battle. If possible, leave the sea demon until the day it appears. The preparations now are just to be prepared for unforeseen circumstances. So, this is Ryder's noble phantasm. Assassin Jing K looked at the pyramid-shaped noble phantasm, searching for opportunities to enter. After a while she saw the gate of the pyramid and the sphinx-like statue standing at the entrance. Entrance? Or a trap? No matter what, to kill that Ozymandias, she must go through it. She didn't consider whether she could come back. Even if she had to sacrifice her life, as long as she could kill that king, it would be her victory. Thinking like this, she concealed her presence and entered through the entrance. Now, the full abilities of this pyramid haven't been revealed yet. Dio's intelligence network only learned about the abilities displayed by Ozymandias when he fought against Gilgamesh and Enkidu yesterday. Jane K's presence concealment ability is only B. However, she also has an A-level, restraint, ability, able to hide any killing intent before the attack. So, although she didn't know if there were surveillance or anything in the corridors of this pyramid, she went in with the worst assumption. Means don't matter. As an assassin famous for assassinating kings, her ability to kill kings has been strengthened. Although she failed in her previous life, she won't this time. This time, she will definitely succeed, pierce the heart of the pharaoh with the dagger in her hand, cut off his head, crush his soul core, and end his life. This is assassination. Only tonight's assassination, not placing the target on the master or similar, but on the most difficult king. This is her. Jane K. Crack. As Jane K stepped into the pyramid, she slightly turned her head, and the next moment, her expression changed. Without stopping, without hiding her figure, she just concealed her killing intent completely. She rushed forward without hesitation, because the sphinx-like statue at the entrance stood up. Not only that, in front, one after another monster appeared. To assassinate this Egyptian pharaoh, she had thoroughly researched the history of this country, studied the experiences of this pharaoh, thought about what his noble phantasm might be. But she didn't expect to have such monsters under his command. They weren't just monsters, if anything, they were divine beasts. Just by looking, it's clear that each of them has the combat power of a servant or higher, and there are 4 of them just with a casual glance. There are also 2 more sphinx beasts behind. If she fights, she might not be able to defeat even one of them. Just by looking at her, she understood this, so she passed through the corridor. Relying on her agility, she advanced towards the pharaoh. But, the moment she stepped into this pyramid, she was already discovered. This pyramid is Ozymandias's reality marble, eroding reality, occupying a fixed space in reality, and truly changing reality in that fixed space. Everything inside is under the control of the pharaoh. Although Jane K didn't know about all this, it didn't hinder her progress. Cross over, advance, forward, pass through the gaps between the feet of the sphinx, through the cracks of the mythical beasts. What came in front was the claw of the sphinx, the fiery storm expelled by the sphinx. She passed the first one, passed the second one after a while. The claw of the sphinx struck. What? Jane K's face turned ugly, unable to dodge. With her A-level agility, she couldn't dodge. No, she didn't know when her speed had slowed down. Although she didn't realize it herself, her speed was no longer as fast as it was at the beginning. Bang! Mercilessly, the sphinx's claw struck Jane K. Crack! You could clearly hear the sound of bones breaking. Jane K flew backward, but she flew outside the encirclement of the sphinx. Passed through. One arm went limp, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of Jane K's mouth as she rushed past the sphinx's defense line. After a while, in front another sphinx appeared, the 7th sphinx. 228. The path to the throne, the 7th sphinx. Jane K's heart skipped a beat as she faced the 7th sphinx. Her legs were weak. While she could still manage to run, overcoming this sphinx seemed impossible. Dodging its claws, flames, and storms, all of it was beyond her capability. In general, it was an impossible feat, but, master. She wasn't alone. It wasn't like the last assassination. This time, she had her own master, someone who could unleash her abilities at a crucial moment. Command spells. Assassin by the command spell, I order you. Colin Kidd, who was observing everything through Assassin's eyes, spoke. Avoid that sphinx and kill Ryder. Understood. Jane K, with a blood stain on her forehead, smiled. Though unfamiliar with this master, helping her succeed in the assassination of the king that made him the best master. This time she would not fail. Looking at the dimming command spell on his hand, Colin Kidd breathed a sigh of relief. It seems the situation isn't going well. Dio, sitting on the throne and flipping through a book, commented without looking up. Yes. Although Ryder hasn't appeared, Assassin was detected the moment she entered the pyramid. Even her emiya to conceal her presence was ineffective. Then 7 sphinxes appeared, likely of servant level. That's the situation with those sphinxes, Colin Kidd reported. I see. Dio nodded, took a sip of what appeared to be red wine but was, in fact, fresh blood. The blood of high-level dead apostles. Previously, Dio hadn't touched his subordinates who were dead apostles. But yesterday, during the battle with Berserker, some of the high-level dead apostle had spouted a considerable amount of blood, some of which Dio absorbed. Thus he felt a much greater life force than that of human blood. In the end, both the dead apostle and Dio were vampires, but they belonged to different breeds. Presently, Dio treated the dead apostles as a source of food. After all, the blood of the dead apostles could significantly increase his strength. However, Dio wouldn't kill his subordinates. Instead, he would only consume a portion of their blood, letting them replenish it by consuming other humans. In simple terms, the dead apostles feed on humans, and Dio feeds on the dead apostles. But how many dead apostles would willingly allow Dio to consume their blood? Colin Kidd didn't know. What he did know was this: if Dio wanted to drink his blood, how would he react? Would he refusk, agree, escape, or perhaps feel honored? He had no idea. On the other side, Jane K passed through the last sphinx and rushed further inside. Then the wall blocked her path. Jane K came to a halt. Ha ha, ha ha. The effect of the command spell was about to end, and there was no way forward. And then, a curse. Legend had it that there was a curse of the gods within the pyramid, causing tomb raiders to die one after another. It was the same here. Even walking inside this pyramid caused her parameters to continuously drop. It was a deadly poison for ordinary humans, enough to cause death within a few breaths. Even servants couldn't endure it for long. Although, at the moment, it only manifested as a decrease in ability parameters. But, it was deadly enough. Turning back, the 7 sphinxes were already approaching her. Not only that, her noble phantasm was unusable. At the moment, her noble phantasm was just a simple dagger with deadly poison. This pyramid sealed her noble phantasm. Decreasing ability parameters, noble phantasm sealed. These were the current abilities displayed by this pyramid. And, she couldn't break the wall in front of her. The wall was incredibly tough. Even facing an army's noble phantasm, it would remain unscathed. Relying solely on her dagger was futile. Moreover, there was no other way forward. At the moment, the only options were to run away or die here. I can't fall here. However, she wouldn't just retreat like this. Even if she were an assassin, her only option now was direct combat. Ha ha. At this moment, the laughter of the pharaoh reached her ears. Not bad. Even facing such fear, assassin remains calm. Interesting, not bad. I appreciate someone like you. Undoubtedly deserving the title of a brave warrior. Assassin, tell me your name. A small fry has nothing special to say, but if you really want to know, I don't mind telling you. Very well, speak. What is your name? Jane K. That's my name, Jane K said, noticing that the sphinxes in front had stopped moving. Oh. The pharaoh fell silent for a moment and then laughed. Haha, not bad. So, you're a historical figure who attempted to assassinate a king. Indeed, you have courage. Saying that, Jane K noticed that the sphinxes in front of her had gradually disappeared. In the end, only one remained. Come, assassin. No, Jane K killed this sphinx, and all the paths to my throne will open for you. Come. Let me witness your bravery. And then you must also give a rating. Among the kings you have encountered, how do I rank? With due respect, Jane K laughed, tightened the dagger in her hand, and with the other hand, shattered the attack of the remaining sphinx. In other words, she mustn't be hit, absolutely cannot be hit by this sphinx. Being hit meant death, but as long as she killed this sphinx, she would meet the pharaoh. At that moment, she would definitely be able to successfully kill him. This time, she wouldn't fail. Absolutely wouldn't fail. This was her wish. As for the Holy Grail, drinking alcohol wasn't bad, but as for wishes, she would pass. Her wish was only this: to personally kill the king. 229, Sun King. Drip, drip, drip. On the ground, a river of blood formed. It wasn't Jane K's blood, even though half of her face was burned in battle. She fought with all her might, dodging and evading, seizing every opportunity to attack. Finally, After 3 minutes of exertion, she successfully killed the Sphinx in front of her. The cost wasn't her injuries, but another command spell from her master. Jane K coughed up a large amount of blood, watching as the Sphinx in front of her swallowed the next wave of blood. The Sphinx, presumed to be dead, regenerated at an incredibly fast speed, resurrecting once again standing up. Then, in the next moment, the Sphinx disappeared. The wall that blocked her path also vanished. It appeared. The way forward, Jane K said as she walked past. Even now, the curse within the pyramid continued to erode her body. She couldn't endure much longer. Before collapsing completely, she had to reach the throne of that person immediately. The interior of the pyramid had a vast space. It was almost a kilometer in a straight line to the throne of Ramses II. This distance was nothing for a servant under normal circumstances, but now, Jane K was battered and bruised. With every step, she felt the intense pain emanating from her internal organs. She couldn't run anymore. Even walking was a strenuous effort. Moreover, the curse continued to deepen. By the time she reached the presence of the pharaoh, Jane K's consciousness had already started to blur. Ha 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 ha. Seeing Jane K arrive before him, Pharaoh laughed heartily. Well done. You've passed this king's trial and successfully reached my presence. So, are you ready to accept your reward? If you join me, I'll spare you. What do you say? How is that possible? Jane K approached the pharaoh and said, this time, I will not fail. Is that so? Ozymandias was not angered at all, or perhaps he would be if she agreed now. Then, what about the earlier question? Compared to the kings you've seen, who shines more brightly? I am unwilling to admit it, but that emperor shines a bit brighter, Jane K said directly. Ha ha ha. Pharaoh laughed thunderously. You haven't seen my true brilliance. Let me show you my real radiance. Master. Jane K spoke. I understand. This is the last command spell, Colin Kidd said, using his final command spell. Ling K took a deep breath, feeling the magical power of the command spell circulating within her. When asked about the strength of kings, one would undoubtedly praise them. Saying the opponent was strong and formidable meant that she had lost, so she wouldn't fail again. This time, she must kill this pharaoh. Gripping the dagger tightly, Jane K dodged the approaching rays of light, exhausting her last ounce of strength to rush to the front of Pharaoh. She pierced his chest with the dagger. She shattered his core. Success? Did she finally succeed this time? On the other side, Colin Kidd was also shocked. Had she really defeated him? Yes, you did it. If it were an ordinary king, they would have died by now, but I am Oomph. Ozymandias looked at Jane K in front of him, pondered for a moment, and said, originally, I wanted to use this to temporarily retreat for a minute. And let you disappear before resurrecting. Forget it, that would be disrespectful to a brave warrior like you. What? Shattered the core. Jane K widened her eyes. Her legend granted her the ability to assassinate emperors. If she struck, there should be no reason for him to still be alive. Though not the strongest assassin, she was one of the most famous assassins of emperors. So what was this now? Exactly, you did it indeed. If it were an ordinary king, they would have long been dead by now. However, I am Pharaoh, the king of kings. The unparalleled God King. My body is immortal. Not a single thread can harm me in the slightest. Ozymandias's core had completely shattered, and the remaining fragments returned to the throne of heroes. But that's right, the pharaoh laughed, and the wounds on his body seemed to reverse in time, returning to a state of perfect health. Immortality. As long as he was within this temple, Ozymandias's immortality was absolute. Absolutely invincible. The only way to kill him was to destroy this grand temple. However, this temple had divine beast sphinxes. And all of them were as immortal as him. The walls of the temple could easily withstand noble phantasms without a scratch, and the emitted Dendera electric bulb had unparalleled power. It was truly invincible. To defeat this invincible figure, one had to completely destroy the temple. Otherwise, if only a part of it was destroyed? Useless. The destroyed part of the temple would regenerate immediately. Only by completely destroying both the temple and Ozymandias could he be defeated. A servant with such capabilities was rare in the entire throne of heroes. If someone invaded this pyramid without knowing, the outcome was predetermined. Wanting to destroy it from the inside was exponentially difficult. The noble phantasms would also be sealed. Accompanied by the curses inside the temple, Even those with X-ranked robust health like Arash would experience a decrease in parameters. In the certain Holy Grail War where he made an appearance, Ozymandias first defeated Berserker and then fought the three knights alone. Later, Assassin, in conjunction with another arrogant figure, killed Ozymandias' master, cut off his magical supply, and Castor's Philosopher's Stone removed the curse. Arash used Stella. Arthur used his noble phantasm, and even with a half-broken body, they finally managed to send the Pharaoh into the Holy Grail. In this Holy Grail War, he could completely be described as one against many. This was what it meant to be a servant of a transcendent rank. So, let's go back to the throne of heroes, Assassin. A radiant light covered Jing Kei's body. Her assassination had failed once again, but facing such an immortal divine king, even if she failed, it could still be considered a form of glory. Well done, I had a great time. It's precisely because of this that this world is worth being ruled by me. Destined to be ruled by me. Ha 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 ha. 230. The so-called heroic spirits. Has the first withdrawal of a servant already occurred? Noel Layard, the enigmatic master, expressed his surprise. It was only the first day of the Holy Grail War, and already one servant had withdrawn. Biting his lip, he asked, Lancer, how's your recovery? Well, I've already fully recovered, said Enkidu with a smile. Despite the loss of magical energy, there was no need to worry. Whether it was the Mages Association, the Holy Church, or Dio's faction, they all had accumulated knowledge and resources over hundreds of years. Although the accumulation wasn't for the Holy Grail War, but rather for their respective goals, it didn't hinder the explosive release of energy. With nearly unlimited magical energy supply, it was quite normal among the three factions. In contrast, Kurokawa Kazuya, being a separate faction, were at a disadvantage. After all, Kazuya's magical energy was limited. Fortunately, Alucard didn't consume magical energy so rapidly. However, even with that advantage, his chances of winning this time were very low. Without using Alucard's noble phantasm, although he could wear down one or two heroic spirits, there were many who couldn't be worn down. And, if he used that noble phantasm, though the number of River of Death was numerous, facing many heroic spirits, especially those with light cannons and even larger ones, they might be wiped out instantly. Especially in this Holy Grail War, there were quite a few heroic spirits with such abilities. The River of Death, the strongest trump card, ironically became an ability that could not be used. Enkidu looked at his master. How are you? Any tasks? No, Lady Bartholomew has not given any specific orders yet. For now, resting is fine. However, I want to ask something. Lancer, do you have a chance of winning? Facing Gil. There is a chance, Enkidu smiled. Indeed, in terms of performance, he may be slightly stronger than me now. But, I was created as a countermeasure against Gilgamesh, so I still have a chance. No, what I mean is, do you have a chance against that Ozymandias? Enkidu paused for a moment, then smiled slightly. Of course. So-called heroes excel at turning the impossible into the possible. For a servant, while parameters on the character sheet were important, they weren't absolute. In this world, there were many who claimed to have the strength of servants. High-ranking dead apostles, powerful magus, phantasmal species, and even sphinxes under Ozymandias. However, when it came down to a real fight, the winner was usually a servant. Not because they were stronger, but because they were heroic spirit. They had experienced numerous tribulations during their lifetime, risen step by step, and their spirit and will had undergone tremendous growth. Finally, they were recognized by the world and human history to be summoned as heroic spirits. Summoned for this reason. Even if faced with beings of similar strength, there was no reason for them to lose. Of course. Unless they themselves desired death, hoped to disappear, it wasn't considered a loss. If one truly wanted to achieve victory and gave their all for it, besides servants, who had the ability, who had the qualification to battle against them. Even if humans managed to defeat a servant, take a look at these humans themselves. How many would ascend to the throne of heroes, so they wouldn't lose? Regardless of who asked any servant, no matter who the opponent was. In general, the answer would be only one and could only be one won't lose. High attribute values? Unbeatable noble phantasms? Servants themselves were beings capable of turning the impossible into the possible. Rest a bit today. Noel Layard said with a sigh of relief upon hearing Enkidu's answer. Rest today, you won't need to fight. I see. Are there others? Yes. Noel Laird paused for a moment and said, Assassin assassinated Gilgamesh and his master. Aren't you worried? Bartholomew Lorelol requested not to tell a Lancer about this matter. After all, regardless of the deadly battle between Archer and Lancer in the eyes of others, in their eyes, it might be a game among friends. So try not to say it. No one knows what the thought process of a servant's brain circuit is like. Well, it's fine. Enkidu looked in the direction of the Holy Church. Gil won't be defecated so casily over such matters. Boom! Assassin swiftly retreated amidst the thunderous noise. The assassination attempt had failed. After silently killing 2 proxy executor, and failing to locate where Kotomine Kire was, she coincidentally discovered Archer and decided to approach. However, just as she approached Gilgamesh, she was discovered. Countless thin and dense lightning bolts appeared out of nowhere when she approached Gilgamesh, chasing her. This was an automatic defense noble phantasm deployed around Gilgamesh to resist surprise attacks. What's wrong? Does the little mouse dare not reveal her face? The next moment surrounding her were several noble phantasms. All of them were of A rank and B rank at this moment. Gilgamesh was unprecedentedly serious. Even when facing a reckless intruder like the little mouse, he still mercilessly used his own noble phantasms to launch a sweeping attack. It should have been so, however, arrows came from afar. The arrows pierced through the walls of the church, accurately hitting Gilgamesh, who was shooting out his noble phantasms, sending him flying. The arrows, having missed their target, landed on the ground. In an instant, they caused the earth to collapse, piercing through the ground and forming a hole several meters deep in the basement. Those were Archer's arrows from a distance. Arash placed his hand on the bowstring, and with a wave of his hand, 4 arrows shot out. Each one seemed like a missile. Archer, Arash. He, too, was a great hero who was unrivaled regardless of whom he faced. That was the hero who shot arrows cracking the earth, humming, ha ha. It seems that the king is enraged. Arash looked at the hundreds of halos opening in the sky above the church, and the noble phantasms emerging from within. This can't be stopped, can it? Hasn't Assassin's little girl run away yet? No, she has already escaped, but the enemy's saber is also chasing after her.